and welcome to all of our Gold participants. It's great to have you here. I'm Fiona Langsharp, IBCLC Director of Communications and MC for our Gold Learning and Gold Lactation Conference 2020. And here today is Bryna Sampey. She is going to be our opening keynote, also speaking for our main conference. So we have lots to cover here today, and I'm very excited to introduce you to her. I will let you know before she speaks that she is going to be with us live twice on March 30th. Now, I know for some of you who are around the world, it won't always land on that time zone, so you need to go to the website to check out the time that it will be in your area at goldlactation.com. You can also make sure that you register for Bryna's presentation now, because it will be a free and open access presentation, which is pretty exciting. And I know Bryna's excited about that too, because we can share it with everyone in the world. Anyone can come, wherever you are, wherever you're living, you're welcome to come. If you can't make it on that day and the time zones don't work for you, then don't forget the recording will be available, but make sure you go to the website and register. Well, without any further ado, let me please introduce to you Bryna Sampey. Welcome, Bryna.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. It's an honor.
Well, I'm very excited. A couple of reasons was because I got to meet you in person recently, and that was just fabulous for me, and it was great to connect. Always love meeting delegates and speakers on site. Got to listen to you and do your thing, and I know that you're going to come and do it here too. We've been having lots of fun as we've been utilizing our webcams here, and I know that you're going to be showcasing some of that when you speak to us, right? Right, Bryna?
Yes, yes, I've got some exciting things up my sleeve.
Some dancing or some techniques or something like that, right?
At least. Hopefully not too complicated.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. Well, let's get jump in here with having you introduce yourself a little bit. So for our audience around the world, please maybe share a little bit of where you're located, and maybe what life looks for you on an ordinary day.
Yeah. Well, I live in the Pacific Northwest, so it rains pretty much every day. It's actually known as the temperate rainforest, but we don't have any. We have lots of green plants, but nothing exciting and cool like the other rainforest. So, and we have a lot of lakes and a lot of rivers, a lot of water all around here. And I'm near Portland, Oregon. And so it's a lot of fun. We have wonderful restaurants. We have a lot of small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs getting started up.
Mhm.
It's not as expensive to live here as it is California or the other cities on the West Coast. So we have a lot of innovation and arts and exploration and neat cultural communication and collaboration. So, and on the day to day, I have 4 kids and a Portuguese water dog who's sleeping at my feet right now.
Oh,
And we have 10 chickens and 4 ducks. And so, or 5 ducks. I'm not sure. I can't remember. There's a lot of birds outside. It's pretty chaotic. We get up early, we go to bed late, and we never stop moving. I have a private practice, and my office is less than half a mile from my house. So I'm sort of spoiled after years and years of doing lots of home visits all over the place.
mm.
I'm really happy in my office.
In
So
your office, in your
I
office.
am, yeah. And it's
Well,
right
that's
across the street from
wonderful.
a coffee roaster, so it's really not
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, perfect. Perfect
Yeah,
location.
yeah.
Um, I know that I was reading that. Are you still attending births as well? Are you still doing
Yes.
births? Oh
Yes,
my
because
goodness.
I can't give it up. I love it so much. But I
Mhm.
limit myself to 4 a year, which means I do 8 a year. And
I'm sure you've heard
right, I know. They say, and I'm not even a midwife, and they say midwives never retire. They just sort of die at a birth.
right.
So, which is
Don't do
sort of
that.
morbid, but no, I'm
Yeah.
not going to. But it's true. It is really it's an amazing like honor to be part of.
Right.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing thing to witness. So.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something being a fellow doula as well. There's something about retiring and not retiring and never really retiring. I
Yes.
find that, I'm always saying, well, I'll maybe not do any this year, but things always change and shift. And it
Yeah.
is busy for all of us. I know you're traveling, I'm traveling, but there is a love of birth and passion,
Yeah.
that comes alongside it, and always being there in the moments right after a newborn is born to support breastfeeding.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
and getting things off to a good start. If there's no better way than, watching a parent put all of those tools into place that we've talked about prenatally. And I think those are some of my passions, my loves, and I know they are yours as well.
Oh, totally. And there's always that special birth that you can't miss, right? It's that
Totally.
one.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let's dive into some things a little bit about you professionally because again, I know you talked about now you're in private practice and all those types of things, but let's focus in a little bit on infant reflux. Now, I'm going to remind everybody once again about the title of your presentation for the opening keynote, Breastfeeding with Ease: The Impact of Infant Reflex Emergence and Integration. So, thinking about this and learning more about this, Bryna, it really has sort of supported the evolution of my practice and just understanding some of the things that happen when I've checked everything else. I can't figure out what's happening, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's a reflex. And it's sort of the trail. But I feel like sometimes it's very subtle and I'm not proficient in this area. So tell me, I mean, I know you're nodding your head. You're probably like, well, that's right, Fiona, you need to learn more, which I'm excited to do. I
No,
am.
I can relate so hard.
I, I'm so open to this. But I want to know from you, when was it that you started to have these aha moments? Because I know that you've done a lot of training, you've done a lot of self-research, as well. But tell me when you started to put sort of the dots together and understanding that it wasn't, I always say there's so much more beyond just the latch. And so tell me when you started to have those moments of clarity in reflex.
Oh my gosh. I mean, like I think about my practice as like before I did reflexes and then after I did reflex. It's
Right?
like BC and AD. Like it's a big event.
Sure,
So,
sure. Yeah.
and so it's really like it's mind blowing. So I was listening to a talk maybe in 2007 by Alison
Hmm.
Hazelbaker, and she had mentioned rhythmic movement, like in
Mm,
an offhand way.
hmm.
And she was talking about the cardinal movements, or when a baby, makes that spiral
Oh, yeah.
down to be born.
Yeah.
As a doula, you are very
Hmm.
well familiar. We
Sure.
do
Yeah.
lots of rebozo sifting, lots of hands and knees
Yeah.
to make
All
sure that
that.
happens. And exactly. And so supporting those cardinal movements really makes a huge difference. And when a baby, when isn't able to go through those movements for some reason, she had mentioned, the baby can get stuck and that can cause, other things, other complications like torticollis or breastfeeding difficulty. And then she moved on in her talk, which wasn't about that. And I, I kind of like perked up my ears, and I have no idea, honestly, like
Hmm.
what drove me, but I immediately searched for a training, and I found this amazing mentor in Seattle, Sonia Story, who runs Move, Play, Thrive, which is like it's for like school age children. It's not for babies at all. It's not for
Right.
lactation. It has nothing about any. And
Yeah.
I happen to have a child with spectrum disorder, sensory spectrum disorder.
Hmm.
And he's 10 now, but he was little at the time.
Hmm.
And let's see, he was probably 6 months old, so it must have been 2009.
Hmm.
And he had the hardest time nursing, and he had just the hardest time just being a baby. And I
Hmm.
had a baby at this point, so I was like, what? Why is life so hard for you? Like, why are you so different? What is so
Yeah,
different
yeah.
about you? You look normal. All the tests are fine. You look fine. He was huge. He was 9 pounds, and I'm like 5'3" if I
Yeah.
stretch. And so, I mean, apart from being a giant baby, like there really wasn't anything that was off. And so,
Right.
I went to this training, having no idea what to expect,
Hmm.
and I get there, and no one knows why I'm there. The teacher is like, "So you're a lactation consultant?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. We're just I'm excited to take this course." And so it's a really movement heavy course. You bring a yoga mat, you move the whole time, you're doing all the movements, and you're
Wow.
doing it's like a yoga teacher training almost. And so
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
really, really busy. And and so then what we have is um me just sitting there this entire weekend because the first level one is a 3 days, it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Hmm.
and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's a baby. Like that's when this happens, and that's when this
Right.
happens, and that's when this happens. And she was really tired of me by the end of the course. She was probably really happy to see me be
Yeah.
done, but but I was like, well, what about this? And she's like, I don't really work with infants, I don't know. And I'm like, well, what about this? And she was like, "N- there isn't we haven't studied that." And I'm like,
Yeah.
why isn't anyone doing this with infants? And she was like, I don't know. And so, she had a lot of really thoughtful, experience-based answers, but there wasn't anybody in this. Nobody was
Hmm.
doing this work. And so I
Right.
went home and my mind had just exploded. And so
Right.
I had taken levels one and two, and then I decided to get certified. So I took level three, and then in order to get certified, you actually have to take levels one and two again. You have to repeat them
Oh, wow.
because you're doing movement the whole time.
Hmm.
There's I mean, I'll talk about this in my talk, but reflexes can
Yeah.
unintegrate, and so you actually don't retain a lot of the information because your mind is just so blown the first time. So I learned things I did not learn at all the first pass through the course. So
That is so
um,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, it's really weird because it doesn't seem like it's going to be correct like or true, and it's all of a sudden like the most true thing you've ever experienced, and so it's
Wow.
just and so then I took it home and I started to apply it with my kids,
Hmm.
and my baby changed overnight. Um, and that's the thing about this work that I always forget to tell people is that it works immediately. It works instantly.
Mm.
Um, it takes a while to integrate and to stay. Like, you have
Right.
to do it daily to maintain
Sure.
it. But
Yeah.
I kind of explain it like when you make changes in the brain, you're like walking a path through tall grass.
Hmm.
And if you walk that path once through tall grass, the grass is going to bend back, and no one will know you were there.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and if you walk it every day, you'll wear yourself a path in the grass, and it's a lot like that. So
So
it's
interesting.
yeah, the brain is wild. It's just it's really
Just wild.
wild.
Just
It's
wild.
it, yeah, it's also like almost a completely unexplored frontier, which is why I
Right.
went into marine chemistry, which is what I was in before, and that's why I went into lactation because there's so little work done here. We have so much left to learn.
I know. I know. I feel like this is I mean, this conversation, I know we could take to a whole new level, but we don't have, we want to have a week. And I know you and I, you and I could talk for a while about this. But drawing you back to your topic, so breastfeeding with ease, the impact of infant
Ah, yes,
reflex,
sorry, thank you.
emergence, and integration. No, I'm just thinking now, okay, so I'm going to come to you. You've got 75 minutes. What is it that I should expect? Like, what am I going to have tools? Am I going to be able to do this on myself, my children? Can I teach this to families? What's going to happen, Bryna? Because I know it's not long, but what is going to happen in that 75 minutes?
Oh man, I wish I could put everything I know into 75 minutes, but I had to pick and choose, and it was really painful. And so what you'll have, because I really can't stand when I go to a conference and I learn about something really cool, and then I can't do anything with it right away.
Right. Yeah.
So I want to have an actionable tool I can take
Hmm.
and use on Monday. And
Right.
so that's how I've geared my lecture. Like every lecture I do, I
Okay.
try to give you something that you can take home and immediately use on yourself, use it with any willing participant in your home.
Yeah.
And everybody practices on their family.
Excellent.
Um, I'm sure I'm not alone.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then you can use with family. So you can expect to be able to assess reflexes, which is
Good.
part of our core competencies as
Yeah.
IBCLCs. And you should be able to understand what you're seeing when you assess the reflexes. Because what I found is that and this happened for me too, when I was trained, and my mentor was and she is an amazing lactation
Hmm.
consultant, and she's a
Right.
nurse, and she's been a nurse for a long time. She's a lot of experience, but I was taught to assess reflexes and then not nothing to like I was like, okay, well, what do we do with that information? She's like,
Hmm.
I mean, you can send it to the pediatrician if there's something weird, and
Right.
that's
Right.
about all that's all that there is. And so
Yeah.
when I learned this topic, I was like, oh, this is an amazing assessment tool that we have
Right.
literally in our fingertips,
Yeah.
and we can teach it to parents. And you should be able at the end of 75 minutes to have enough knowledge to use it yourself and then also teach it to parents. And they are always eternally worried about milestones,
Hmm.
which are actually reflex integration points. And so they can see for themselves how their baby's brain is developing and then also have tools to intervene there
Mhm.
as they need to. So it's
Well,
really
that
cool.
yeah, no, that's very exciting. I think the emphasis is that we will get something to take away from this, and we will be able to put it into practice.
Oh my
And
gosh,
I
yes.
know it's not everything, and I know there is an extensive amount of learning to do here. But I think
Yes.
the cool thing is, and I can vouch for this too, because I did get to come and listen to you, and I did hear you, and I thought, and it really is amazing that there are some really easy things to do and things that make a huge impact. And I think if this is an area that people are really passionate about, just like you are, I think that this will give them a jumping off point, honestly.
Yes.
But I think like I think people are going to become addicted to honestly, because I think that this is something that makes so much sense. And so it for me, it's definitely the aha moment of the year is just kind of going, okay, there are so many layers to this. It's not, there's just so much more that I can learn. And it seems like it really probably is a little bit endless. So I'm grateful for that too, because it's, I'm a life learner. So knowing that, I probably just keep learning about all of these things and how important that they can impact the body over a lifespan, really.
I hope so. I really hope so. And I love that what you said about layers. I think that that is so important and so important in this work because it's not like a protocol. Like we're so good at like, okay, well, what's this, what's the ABM protocol for
Right.
ducts or for this or that? And this isn't like that. And it is endless. It can be because everybody's so individual and so different. And I think it brings
Fully.
the importance and highlights the importance of diversity
Hmm.
and an understanding of like a diversity of landscapes that we work within because we
Yeah.
never just work within one context in lactation. That's the thing that's unique about this career and it's so endlessly fascinating and it's so exciting. So I'm so excited that you have that that drive to keep learning because it's
Yeah.
there's so much we don't know.
Yeah, well, thank you for being, an influence in that area. Really appreciate it, and thank you for joining me here today.
Ah,
We're at,
thank you.
we're
So
we're
happy to be
actually,
here.
yeah, no, we're actually going to do another part to this conversation. So just so you know, we're actually going to take it to a part two. So do listen in. There'll be another. We've got Bryna, who's also speaking at our conference, as part of the main conference as well, and I'll give you a little sneak insight to that. She's going to be speaking about rhythmic movement for breastfeeding function. So do join me for that conversation as well. That'll be up online for all of our registered delegates as well. So I can't wait to hear some more. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into what life was like for Bryna prior to having children and what happened to take her on this new journey, and also about some of the things that are, coming up for IBCLCs and how they can put this into their practice, and how it's part of their core curriculum as well. So that's going to be really exciting. So anyways, thank you so much for being with us here today, Bryna. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you and learning from you again. And I can't wait until March 30th for your keynote presentation.
Oh, likewise. Thank you. It's such a joy to chat with you and every time and every time.
Sure.
So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you to all of our viewers here today. Don't forget you can go to the website. Remember, this is going to be a free and open access presentation. March 30th, it's on the calendar for 2 times in that day. So wherever you are in the world, we hope that you can join us live. No, of course, you can always come to the recording. All you have to do is go to the website at goldlactation.com and register. Well, thank you again to Bryna Sampey for being with us here today. And of course, all of you, our listening audience. Bye-bye for now, everyone.